name is Stella idogho, and I'll be presenting about sexual harassment in workplace. Today's case is going to be about Ineos Candera versus ICO Building Management, was owned by three brothers, Angelo Antonuccio and Gonzalo Martinez. Facts of the case: the key people will have the applicable legislation, will also have the analysis, decision, and my opinion. We will have the human resource management recommendation and the references. Key people in this case is Anels Candera and ICO Building Management, Angelo Antonuccio and Gonzalo Martinez. Facts of the case. Anels Candera was working as a housekeeper at Hallmark Housekeeping Service since June 2005. ICO, the respondent, the company owned by three brothers, took over the housekeeping services contract but still kept the workers of Hallmark Housekeeping. Anels Candera claimed that she was sexually harassed by a co-worker, which we will call TC, from 2006 to 2008, and this happened in private with no witnesses, neither she tell any of her colleagues about the harassment. TC worked for ICO as a cleaner until his dismissal in August 2008. His dismissal was not related to any sexual harassment case. The applicant claimed that she was terminated from her work in reprisal of her attempt to enforce her right to be free from harassment in workplace. Contrary to that, in the defense, the respondent denied these allegations, saying that the Anels Candera dismissal was issues related to her misconduct and it was decided by the Employment Insurance Board. The applicant also mentioned she talked to Mr. Martinez to change her lunch time from 12:30 to about 1, and this was done because she was trying to avoid TC. But later on, TC started coming to her lunchtime by 1 and she requested to change her lunchtime again. TC worked for ICO as a cleaner until his dismissal in August 2008. The applicant also claimed in 2008 she informed Mr. Martinez about an incident where TC was showing her photograph on his cell phone and asked to tell Mr. Antonioso, but Mr. Martinez declined. In October 2008, the applicant was called to see Mr. Antonioso in his office, where she was given a letter of reprimand. The reason was because the property manager for Galleon, supervisor to TC, told him to issue this letter after getting a complaint about the applicant making offensive slurs about TC and his relationship with another colleague. And this was when she broke down in tears and told Mr. Antonioso about TC's sexual harassment towards her. Mr. Martinez, however, spoke with TC's supervisor and discovered that the situation involved conflicting allegations. Mr. Martinez, the respondent, also testified that October 6, 2008 was the first time he was informed of this sexual harassment and allegation against TC. And this was done when Mr. Antonioso called him for a meeting in his office with the applicant present to ask if he knew about the situation. Mr. Martinez and Mr. Antonioso also claimed that they had good relationship with the applicant and she regularly complained about work-related issues like having to deal with dirty washroom, having a raise in pay, and wanting extra hours, but she never mentioned about the sexual harassment prior to this day. Soon Soon after he informed the applicant about the discussion with T supervisors and the allegation of misconduct against her, and the situation involved conflicting allegations. However, he was willing to accompany the applicant to the police station to report the situation. She declined this offer. Now we'll talk about the applicable legislation. Anel's Kandari alleged discrimination and application was filed under Section 5, subsection 1, which states, every person has a right to equal treatment with respect to employment without discrimination because of race, ancestry, place of origin, color, ethnic origin, citizenship, creed, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, age, record of offenses, marital status, family status, or disabilities. Section 5, subsection 2 states that every person who is an employee has a right to freedom from harassment in workplace by the employer or agent of the employer or by another employee because of race, ancestry, place of origin, color, ethnic origin, citizenship, creed, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, age, record of offenses, marital status, family status, or disability. Section 7, subsection 2 states that every person who is an employee has a right to freedom from harassment in the workplace because of sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression by his or her employer or agent of the employer or by another employee. Section 7, subsection 9 states that no person shall infringe or do directly or indirectly anything that infringes a right under this part. Section 46.3, subsection 1 states that for this act, except subsection 2.2, subsection 5.2, section 7, and subsection 46.2, any act or anything or done or omitted to be done in course of his or her employment by an official, employee, or agent of a corporation, trade union, trade or occupational association, unincorporated association, or employers' organization shall be deemed to be an act or thing done or omitted to be done by the corporation, trade union, trade or occupational association, unincorporated association, or employers' organization. Now we'll talk about the analysis and the decision. It was said that at the hearing, for the purpose of the code, that TC was an employee of ICO during the period of the harassment before he left to join another organization, and the harassment took place in the workplace. It was also said that the applicant's case was that the investigation into her allegation was inadequate, and also she was subject to a poisoned environment, and this affected her emotionally. Meanwhile, a poisoned work environment is expected when an employee has failed to provide a discrimination-free working environment, and the employee must endure this as part of the condition of employment. The counsel to the applicant further stated that ICO did not have an anti-discrimination/harassment policy, and ICO employees did not have adequate training on anti-discrimination harassment policy and procedures. The respondent argued in his defense that once he became aware of the applicant's complaint, he took the actions necessary. He met with the applicant to discuss the allegation and claimed he never suggested doing nothing about it. He further met with his other supervisors to determine whether they were aware of other allegations related to TC harassment. However, he did not interview other witnesses because there was none. Mr. Antonioso testified that he had a meeting with TC supervisor on October 7 and later met with the applicant to discuss the details of the conversation he had with TC supervisor, which was conflicting with the applicant's allegation against TC. And however, he offered to take the applicant to police station to report the case, in which she did not. The tribunal's decision. After consideration of the evidence, the tribunal decided the applicant did not appraise the respondent of the alleged harassment from a co-worker until October 6, 2008, at which time the employer reasonably and adequately responded to the complaint of harassment. Given their findings, it was not feasible for the respondent to have been aware of the harassment before October 6, 2010. Nor was there any evidence to indicate that they condoned an environment that permitted such harassment to take place. The tribunal also decided that I do not accept that the applicant was subject to a poison work environment. And for all the above reasons, the application was dismissed. My opinion. The respondent immediately took necessary action to deal with the allegation as soon as he was informed of sexual harassment by the applicant. He informed the other supervisors to let them know of the sexual harassment and asked on what to do and if they are aware of the situation before now. He provided a safe environment by immediately alerting the other supervisor, like I mentioned. The applicant allegation was not consistent, and therefore lacked credibility. And that was the decision, that was what the tribunal found out. We all know that in legal proceedings, saying the truth and nothing but the truth will uphold transparency and credibility of your allegations. The respondent desired the decision set out by the HRTO. Now, we will talk about the human resource management recommendation. We know that all organizations should adopt a standalone sexual harassment and assault policy or revisit their current policy to ensure it is adequate. And we should all be aware that all employees, or some of employees, should have at the back of their mind that harassment will take place in the workplace, even with their knowledge or without their knowledge, so they should be alert. Organizations should take steps to ensure all employees are aware of sexual harassment and assault policies. Organizations' leadership should empower HR staff to implement, train, and enforce sexual harassment policies within their organization. Among the most important signals that organizations can send to their employees is through the creation of a standalone sexual harassment policy in the workplace, as well as mandatory training to go with it. Create a culture of zero tolerance towards sexual harassment. Very much. Feel free to comment. I'm open to any questions, and stay safe.